Hello everybody. How is everyone? Give everybody just a little bit of time to get on. Hello, hello. Okay, so today we have the Riley Blake, the next tabletop banners. We are going to be doing the August block today, which is the Twinkle Dim, which is so cute. And so we'll get stitching on that here pretty soon. Hi, Linda. So announcements wise, I don't really have a lot business wise that I can remember. I know that we do have like a virtual, hi everybody, a virtual event going on with Dime and OESD coming up here in a couple of weeks. We have our Radiance Retreat for those of you that are joining for that next week. But other than that, I don't remember anything that's kind of coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed Comment Sold this last Friday. So other than that, I do. Hi, Barb. Hi, Charlene. Hi, Mary. I do have a giveaway for today. So this is a cute little ice cream pint cozy that I did for live a few weeks ago. And this is going to go to Miss Wanda Stevenson. Okay, so I will put that here for you in the back for you to pick up the next time that you are in. It's okay, Janet. Hi. Our AC is very fully functional. Yes, actually, I went outside just a minute ago and was kind of shocked with the huge change in temperature. Okay. So again, today's project is the August block, Twinkle and Dim, if you guys are following along with this. So let's go ahead. I did do a little bit of prep work because there is a lot of applique sewing on this, and I wanted to kind of get a head start on that. So there will be 3 fireflies in on this project. We'll do the third one together. So for that, you do have in the back of your instructions, you do have a template that you do need to trace 3 of each shape. And I did do that onto Steam-a-Seam, and then peeled one side of the paper. Yeah, Gisela, that's been a struggle there. Absolutely. So peeled one side of the Steam-a-Seam to reveal the sticky, stuck the sticky to the back of my applique fabrics, and then used the iron and I fused it. And then I'm left, and then once it's all cooled off, you can cut them out. Got to make sure that they're cooled off though. And you cut them out. So once they're cut out, then there still is one piece of paper left. And you want to, when you're ready to put that down onto your project, we'll peel each one of these, place them down properly, and then use the iron. You can fuse them in place, and then we'll stitch them down. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you guys can see the project and not me. And we can, there we go. All right, so got my little setup going on over here. I'm going to turn this around a little bit. Okay, so like I said, I had there are going to be 3 fireflies, and I've got 2 down already. So we're going to put our third one on, and you're going to start them, they're numbered in template numbers. So you'll have like 3 of template 1, of template 2, template 3, template 4. So, and they actually get laid down in that sequence. So I have number 1, which is the larger of the yellow pieces. and you peel the paper from the back. Okay, reveals that sticky, which mine are extra sticky. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, and we're going to place this guy down. You do want to make sure that when you do that and you're placing your pieces down, you want to make sure you have about an inch all the way around. We are going to trim this piece down, so make sure you're within an inch from all four sides before when you're layering your pieces. Okay, next we're going to take piece 2, which is going to be our upper body. Hi everybody. Okay, again, peel that. If you can't get like the little edges to peel off, just kind of do a little tear, and that can kind of get you started. Okay, that's going to go a little bit higher up on the bigger yellow piece. Luckily these are, until we fuse them with the iron, they are repositionable, and you want to make sure that the pointy edge, you want this flatter edge to be the one that's mainly on the yellow. The pointier part is his neck. Scoot this back just a little bit. Okay. Then we're going to take piece 3, which is more of a triangular little yellow piece. And if you're looking at my fabrics and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what my fabrics look like, it's because I had to substitute. I am pretty much creating my entire project with the scraps of the first set that were made. So I didn't have enough of the background fabric and some of the applique fabrics. And so I did substitute some of them. Okay, oh, here it is. So I just realized that I peeled the sticky part of this off. So that's okay. I'm just going to get my glue stick. This thing saves my life all the time. This QS fabric glue stick. So, and the larger flat edge is going to kind of create a straight flat bottom of the black, and the point kind of goes towards that rounded point of our little firefly butt. Okay? Now, these are pretty much where they're going to live. I would be okay right now fusing these guys down. I don't think I would have to readjust anything at this point. I do still have the wings and the head to go. But these guys, there's really no more repositioning or anything like that. So I'm checking to see if my iron is warmed up yet. Okay, so number 4, which is our left wing. My iron's not quite hot yet, so I'm just going to keep sticking these down. I don't understand what is going on with this. I keep peeling off all the sticky. There it goes. All right, so, and then our little pointy piece, there is a flat piece when you pull these off or when you cut these out, and that kind of lines up with the flat part in the neck, so that's kind of how I lined those up. So that's number 4, which is our left wing. Number 5 is our right. that whole sticky came off. All right. Luckily, I have a backup plan. Okay. And we'll place this one down. And then we have his little head. And that just kind of goes at the neck area, kind of covers all those raw edges there. Okay, and then he goes like that. So once again, we have not fused it down, so if I needed to lift all of these pieces and reposition them, I can. I did glue it, so I don't really want to mess with that glue, so I'm just going to leave him where he's at. And we're going to really finally fuse him to the fabric. Okay, so he should be nice and stuck in place. We're now going to take him to the machine and get him stitched down. So, and this really is the first, I think they're fireflies because they're stuck in a jar, and why would you put bees in a jar? You want fireflies in a jar, right? Okay, so I am going to put some gold thread on because we're going to work from the bottom meaning the first stitch, the first pieces that we put down, pretty much bottom up. So I'm putting yellow on so we can do his little light up butt. I do have an open toe foot on because I'm doing applique and I just want to be able to see my stitches. So for the Berninas, I have the 20C foot on. I am going to change to a blanket stitch. And I am going to make sure that my stitch dimensions are 3 and 3, length and width. All right, this one I accidentally found out is a triple stitch, blanket stitch, which is actually still kind of cool, but it goes a lot extra in the backwards and forwards. So if you see that is why it's doing that. Okay, and then I do have my laser beam turned on just so that I can see where my needle is going to land. Renee, these pieces were so small that I didn't really want to like score them. I like the scoring tool when I'm using like sticky stabilizer and stuff, but with these being so small, I don't know, it kind of freaks me out. Okay, so and I'm just making sure that the forward and backward stitches are just on the edge of my applique piece, and my left-right stitches only bite into the fabric. And then I do have some fusible backing on my background piece of fabric just because we are doing the applique and I wanted to be able to give my background piece a little bit of stability. You could use like SF101 too, but I like the fusible backing. which is a Kimberbell product. And then going around these corners, I'm just going nice and slow. And you can also pay attention to where you're at in your sequence and stop and pivot when you're not about to bite in, doing those left and right motions. It's easier to do that when you're doing your forwards and backwards. All right, so that is our little blanket stitch on his little bottom. I'm going to change it to a straight stitch, and I'm just going to go, I know I said bottom up, but I have the right color on, so I'm just going to do a straight stitch right here in this V, just to hold that part down. I'm going to do more decorative of a stitch over here when we do the black, which I now hopefully can remember where I found that stitch. All right, so I just changed to a straight stitch, and I'm just going to follow inside this V here. And then if you don't already, I live with it on, but if you don't have your pivoting function turned on, especially for applique, you really want to do that. But it basically lives on my machine all the time now. Okay, so my gold thread is done. And I'm going to put black on. And we'll do our little fuzzy stitch. And then go around his head also. Okay, let's see. It was in decorative stitches. I know that. I should have wrote it down. I was just in that one. Oh, goodness gracious. Where'd you go? Nope, that is not what I wanted. Where was I? Hi. Sorry guys, I really should have wrote it down. I was so excited to find it too. Alright, well maybe this one little bee isn't gonna, or a firefly isn't gonna get one. There we go. But so I turned my camera on because I wanted to see, and this is such a cool thing, being able to do this. Oh, there's a glare. Okay, so I have my stitch, which is just this crazy little zigzag uneven stitch. I'm sure there's a more technical term for that. And I put my fabric underneath, I turn my camera on, and this way I'm kind of like auditioning the size and everything of the stitch to see if I need it to be wider or shorten and lengthen the stitch. I want to say I had it a little chunkier. I think it was at 7.6. And then, nope, definitely not that way. And then I'm using my little knobs on the side to just alter the length and width. I think that was pretty much it. Perfect. All right, so great use of our camera here. Okay, and then we'll just stitch over that raw edge. Also, again, using the camera to kind of see that I'm centered over this stitch here. Okay, nice and quick and easy. Going back to my straight stitch, and I'm just going to stitch around his little head here. I'm going to, oh, I left it at 2, perfect. I did change my stitch length to 2 to just be able to go around those curves a little easier. All right, so we've got that part done. The last one I'm going to do is his antennas, just because, again, I have the black thread on. I did change mine to a triple stitch. I love that this machine remembers things. So I did a triple stitch, straight stitch. I went into my editing features. On repeat, I did 3, so it's only going to do 3 stitches here because I don't need a bunch of stitches. They're just a little antenna, right? So, and then I'm going to turn my camera back on because it'll help me with where to place it on my fabric. So there you go. I can see now how much it's going to bite into my fabric. I can turn, oops, I already did that one. That's why there's stitches there already. That was funny. So, and then I can do them at an angle so that they come out of his head, kind of like a little bit more like alien. I don't know what their antenna look like. Do they come out straight? Do they come out at an angle? I don't really know. So just awesome ways to use the camera features in this machine because, well, I just love this machine in general. Okay, triple stitch. I only did 3 stitches, and I'm going to start, and it's going to come into the applique fabric, and then we'll tie off, which will give me just a little bit more. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing over here. Kind of make sure it's lined up pretty good. Okay, so now he's got some antenna, and then we're going to change to a white, and we're going to go around his wings, and this one I just went back to a blanket stitch. I did not choose the triple stitch this time. And like I said, I only did the triple stitch on the yellow because I accidentally found that out. Did not really realize that that was a triple stitch. Okay, so we'll find that again. So for the if you guys have the 990, the triple one, if you go into the quilting menu, so let me pull you guys up here. So if you go into your quilting stitches, it's 1310. That was that triple one. 1309 is not. So that's the one I'm doing for the wings. And again, I put it at 3 and 3 for length and width. Come on, one more. There we go. All right, so there's one wing. All right, finish up this wing here. Okay, so our applique is down. We've got 3 fireflies. We are going to, the dimensions to initially cut this background fabric out at was 10.5 by 13. We are going to trim this down now to, I think, 9.5 by 12. Yep. So let me do that really fast. So 9.5 by 12. And then I'm pretty much just double checking that I'm pulling and like I'm cutting off it equal almost from each side. I'm not just saying, oh, that's an inch difference and cutting an inch off of one side because it'd be very lopsided then. especially if you like right justified or left justified your fireflies. You just want to make sure you're trimming it down to where they're going to be nice and centered in your block. Okay, so we are all trimmed down. Now we are going to start creating our piecing pieces. So, we're going to put our fireflies away for a second, a very short second. We're going to take our G piece, which is our silver fabric, and 2 of our E pieces, and we're going to sew the E pieces to the short ends. Here, again, definitely using our alpha clips because this one doesn't have a lot of little pieces, but definitely want to make sure you're staying nice and organized. All right, so now that we're just going to go back to straight stitching, I want to make sure I change my stitch on the machine, and I'm going to change my foot. I am a lover of the 97 foot. It is your 1/4 inch for the 7mm or 9mm, sorry, plate. Okay, and then we have to tell the machine too that that's the foot we have on. Okay, so, and then I put my stitch length back at default, which is 2.5, because I changed it to 2 for the applique. So, all right, 1 on each short sides. Okay, and then we are going to come back to our little firefly block, and we're going to take the remaining 4 E pieces, and we are going to put them in the corners using their stitch and flip method. So pretty much we're just going to put them right sides down in each corner, stitch on the diagonal, and then we'll trim a 1/4 inch away and flip and get a brand new corner. Okay, so we're going to do this in each corner. Just make sure you're not stitching from the corner, because then you have nothing to trim off later. And it would be a really weird looking little stitch. And then obviously if you don't have a machine that either gives you a laser beam or the laser line and things like that, you could mark the back of all of these as well. But they're such small pieces, it's pretty easy to figure out where you're going with it. Okay, so now we're going to trim our corner away, about 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to press them with the new fabric going out and giving us new corners. Okay, and I'm also, while I'm over there, I'm also going to press these out as well. Just like that. Okay? Okay. So nice to have this little aliso iron for these small little pressing pieces. Okay, I'm almost done pressing, and I will say that right now, if you're interested in a manager special, I do have 2 today, so I will get prepared if you want one. Here is your notice of a manager special coming up. Okay, so we've got the unit with the G and E pieces, and we've got our firefly block here. Okay, first, manager special is normally $33.50, on sale for $25.13. It is I want to make sure I have the proper, it is a fat quarter bundle of blue batiks. They are super pretty, super pretty. So again, the first person I see who wants it, this is, we'll do batik bundle. That way I know once we show the other one that this is the one that you wanted. So again, $33.50 normally, on sale for $25.13. It does have 10 fat quarters in here of the blue batiks. So comment. All right, Loretta, it's yours. Beautiful. Okay, let's do the other one before I forget. So I don't know if y'all remember, I did a table runner a long while ago. It was called Sweet Sentiments. It has a bunch of hearts. It has this cute little heart border. Don't know where you guys went. Okay, I'll open it up and I can show it to you. And I did one block with you on live, and then I started to embroider the little like conversation hearts on there. So I have the whole top essentially sewn out. You have one heart that has an embroidery and a little sentiment on there, like the conversation hearts. You're still super able to put them on here since the top has not been attached or anything. And then you have backing and binding still. So this kit was, okay, Patty, the kit was $28.99, and I was going to do it for $15, and Miss Patty is the one to get that. Okay, awesome, guys. All right, let's get back to our regular scheduled programming for today. All right, so picking back up here, we are going to stitch now these 2 units together. So, and it's going to go at the top. So you don't want to do your gray strip at the bottom. So whichever way you want your fireflies facing, make sure that that is the top, and stitch this unit on there. Okay. Okay, and basically what this forms now is this is the top to our jar, and it's going to be super cute. All right, I'm going to press that to keep that crease nice and crisp. Okay, and then we're going to sew our borders on. So that's going to be our two C's, which are sides, our D, which is top, and F, which is bottom. And we're going to start with the C pieces. So we're going to do side first. Okay. All right, one side down. All right, I'm going to press those seams before, whoops, I sew on the top and the bottom. All right, so D then goes on top, which is the fatter of the two strips that are left. Which I totally just sewed that to the wrong side. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, D needed to go on the top. So let me just do that again. Oops. Okay. So you're going to make sure you sew it to the top of your block and not the bottom. And then F goes on the bottom. Oops. All right. Had some thread breakage there. All right. And then I'm going to press those and we're going to add some corner pieces and then our block is done. And again, I'm not putting backing or binding on because all of my blocks are going to go into the optional quilt once we're done with all of our blocks. So okay, I do have some little pieces that hang over, so I am going to just trim those off really quick. Just make all my edges nice and even. Okay, so then we have 4 A pieces. And just the same way that we did those E's in the corner, we're going to do the same thing with our A pieces. So just stitch right down the center on the diagonal, and then we'll trim, and then we'll flip and press. Okay, 2 more. All right, we'll trim these little corners off, and then we will press the new corners out. And then we're done. All right, let me press these, and then you guys can see the final product. All right, everybody, here it is, our cute little jar of little fireflies. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me. Here, let me turn this back around. For today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And I think Thornton has you guys tomorrow. So enjoy, and I'll see you next time. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.